I'm not used to talking in any sort of recording or anything like that. So this is my first like talking recording for anything online that I can remember anyway. At least since school. I probably did something in school, but anyway, in a long time. And I've had a lot of thoughts kind of circling around in my head about the spiritual space and the heart and everything, because I'm a decently spiritual person, not super spiritual, but spiritual-ish. But I believe in God, and I feel like there's a lot of it feels like the spiritual space has become very disconnected from the heart, which is discouraging for me, because for a while I felt like, I don't know, like I was very emotional. I have a lot of doubt. I have a lot of issues with fear and stuff like that. And I felt like this idea of getting what I want through the spiritual lens was impossible. But at the same time, it felt like there was something really controlling or forceful in the spiritual space that was essentially smothering the heart, but I couldn't put my finger on it. I couldn't articulate it. It just felt really disgusting to me, and I didn't quite know what it was. And I've been thinking more about it. I've been thinking more about because I scroll through Instagram and I see like spiritual person after spiritual person. I hope I'm not being insulting. Spiritual person after spiritual person talking about how a sense of lack attracts lack, fear will like limit you, all this stuff. And I think that of course, like you need to lessen your lack, and you need to lessen your sense of lack, and you want to work on having more hope. I would say through God, more hope through God, more hope through the divine, more hope through your heart, more hope through the loving aspects of yourself to create a better world. But that doesn't inherently mean that you can never have fear, and you can never have doubt, and you can never sense lack, and you can never worry, and you can never have anger, and human emotions that are very natural, I think, byproducts of a world as frankly messed up as ours and as cold as ours. So I'd been feeling a little confused in the spiritual space, and I just felt like something was very wrong about it. And so scrolling through and just seeing again and again and again and again some spiritual person saying lack attracts lack and blah blah blah, and there is no need for fear, you're not your reality, blah 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 blah. I was just kind of over it, and I just felt like the spiritual space was just becoming this like heart smothering zone. But I couldn't really articulate it very well. So I was just kind of thinking of analogies, because I have a lot of analogies, maybe not a lot, but a decent number of analogies kind of come to my head a lot, especially lately, now that I've been thinking about the heart space and trying to understand God a little bit more. Not that I can fully understand God, but just kind of get closer. And I think that requires that you go into the heart and really emphasize the heart. But anyway, I'd been feeling, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Anyway, so I have these analogies come through sometimes, and about, an hour ago, I thought of creme brulee kind of randomly, because I lived in France for a while. I love creme brulee. I haven't had it in probably, like a couple years. I think it's probably been that long. But anyway, I love creme brulee. But anyway, creme brulee popped into my mind, and it felt like it was in there, like it had popped into my mind to tell me something. So I was just kind of like, okay, well, what does that mean? And then I thought of how creme brulee is a custard, so it's like very fluid, but it's also got a very physical nature, like a sturdiness to it, because it's fluid, but it's not, I don't know how to put it. Like, you know what custard is? It's like fluid, it's soft, but it's not, it's got some bulk to it, right? I don't know what to call that, but anyway. And so to me, that's kind of like the intersection of the physical with like the fluid love coming from the divine, and then the physical nature, which of course the physical world has the divine coming through it as well. But to me, custard is very much kind of like the heart space. It's that beautiful blend of the divine and the love coming from the divine and flowing through us as our life force, blood is our life force, and like the fluid nature of God is like coming through our heart, which is kind of like blood coming through our heart and being pumped through all of us. So anyway, then you've got the very physical, tangible nature of whatever goes into the custard of creme brulee. So anyway, but creme brulee is fairly soft and it's sweet, and that's like life. That's like life in the heart is soft and sweet. And you've got this thin layer, which I think is probably because through free will, people are led to do not always very nice things. Free will leads people to do evil things and conditions us to evil within our society without even necessarily realizing it. And so what happens is like, I think that's almost like our world without God, without love. It's like a hard block of ice, which is sort of like if you were to take creme brulee and pop it in the freezer, or you were to take custard and pop it in the freezer, and it's become all hardened. I guess that's what happens if you put creme brulee in the freezer. I've never put it in the freezer, I don't think, so I'm assuming it becomes pretty hard, but maybe it doesn't. But the point is, it's like a block of ice, like life without love, life with coldness. Sorry, my dad just came outside, never mind. So it's like coldness. And so anyway, it's very hard, and it's just really, there's no joy in that because it's just a block of ice and you can't eat it, right? So anyway, the point is, like, life can become very hard and difficult, and just you don't want to live it when it's that block of ice. And so what happens, I think, for God is, because life can become that through free will, leading people to not always be very nice, I think God intentionally makes us have to work a little harder than we want to, and maybe than we even should, to toughen us up a little bit to cope in a world as cold as it is. But I think through time, maybe, I don't know if it would be this lifetime or many lifetimes from now. I personally believe in many lifetimes, but this lifetime, hopefully, but at least, like, if not this lifetime, some lifetime off in the distance, I think our life is supposed to eventually become like custard. It's sweet, it's there, and really all you have to do is live and try a little bit and scoop your spoon into it. But right now we've got, I think, the potential for creme brulee, which is not too different. It takes a little bit more effort, which I think is following your heart, following your passions, and using that momentum fueled from your soul, fueled from your heart space, to lead you down the right path. And so what you do is you have to crack open that creme brulee with your spoon. And yeah, you might like not tap hard enough, or you tap too hard and a little bit of the custard might come flying out or whatever. Or like I said, you don't tap hard enough because that's life. You make mistakes, and then, okay, whatever, like you'll tap again. But it doesn't take too long to figure creme brulee out, right? Well, I feel like the spiritual space is essentially approaching life thinking that they have to force themselves through a life that's very cold, and so they approach life as though it's supposed to stay that way, and the only way to cope is to be aggressive with themselves, and therefore desensitize themselves to their heart, desensitize themselves to the hearts of others, and actually become not so nice people. Maybe not in this lifetime, but I think they're leading themselves down that very corrupted path through devaluing the heart space and the emotions that are natural within the heart. So anyway, I feel like a lot of spiritual people are essentially like, not all of them, but I think a decent number are trying to deal with life kind of like, 'cause, 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 ' like they're approaching a block of ice. They're dealing with a block of ice. They're dealing with a block of ice. They're really struggling, and they're like, I'm just going to be very aggressive with this block of ice. I'm going to heat it up. I'm going to put it in the oven. I'm going to whack it with a hammer. And that's almost like them forcing themselves to ignore their emotions and devalue their emotions. But they don't ever really get to experience the joy of life. And so what happens through the heart, they don't ever really get to experience the joy of life through the heart. And so anyway, I feel like with that, what they end up doing, sorry, I lost my train of thought because I'm outside and I got a little distracted by something. But anyway, so what happens, I think, is then they go and they see this creme brulee, which is really what life's supposed to be, I think, at least right now, through God. And they see this creme brulee, and they're thinking that it's a block of ice, essentially, or very frozen creme brulee. And they're going and like slamming their fork down, or whatever spoon down. And what happens is you lose most of the custard. It just comes, like flying out. You might even break the ramekin. You can't eat, the custard that's got broken bits of ramekin, so you've barely got any custard left. You've barely got that joy of life left. So anyway, I just feel like the spiritual community is just, I'm not articulating it well, but it's my first recording about spiritual stuff. And like I said, I think it's my first talking recording since I was in school, and that was a long time ago. So anyway, I just feel like the spiritual community is kind of forcing its heart, or forcing itself against its heart, or leading people to work against their heart and try to control their emotions.